Account. Yay! We are live.
Yeah, that was actually the fastest we've ever jumped into a Google Hangout.
Yes. Welcome to episode 33 of the Weekly. I have fixed my computer issues on one PC and we are ready to go. Although you just said live camera having system performance issues. Shit.
Okay. No, that's what happened to me when they kicked me out. Okay, so if you get kicked out, I will try to vamp and say really interesting things so that people do not leave our show.
All right. And of course, with us is the one and only Mr. Juan Bagnell from Somegadgetguy.
Hey, West Coast represent. Got my coffee. We've got tech to talk about, so let's do this, yo.
All right. So let's talk uselessness of the week. Yes, sorry, I was a little slow there.
Let's just be honest with our audience. You went out drinking last night, didn't you?
I had to because of all the issues I had. I just had to step away because I was literally going to start destroying shit.
No, I mean, like, I'm really glad you did because there's that thing that happens, especially for guys like us, and I'm sure for the people watching, where we'll get fixated on a problem and we'll expend a ton of energy not actually fixing it, but just getting pissed off about it. So I'm actually really glad you went out drinking, but you know, I know you got to rally, you got to get that energy up. So we got a good show. We got
yeah. It was somewhere I have to go.
Not bad. What's going on up in here? Why are we talking about drinking and stuff? What happened?
No, yesterday during I had a comic crunch. I was having like an escalating amount of just computer issues. It just kept compounding and compounding. 2 different PCs, video. Adobe just stopped working halfway and deleted all the content that I was rendering like out of nowhere. I was just like, I'm just going to shoot somebody at this point. So I was like, no, stop. Just go out and do it.
You gotta blow off some steam, walk away, and then when you come back, you're gonna be able to focus on the problem much better. You'll probably solve it like in your brain when you're away from the problem, and then you'll be able to come back and hook it up.
Yeah. All right, let's get things off with the uselessness of the week, at least a mini one. One, you mentioned about Sprint, it's going to be throttling their unlimited customers, right?
Yeah, so we got a notification. It was later in the week last week that Sprint is looking at a program to start slowing down their unlimited users, and they've set a pretty high threshold. I mean, the cap that they're going to be throttling at is 23 gig, which is quite a bit of data for when you look at sort of the average smartphone consumer. But this is also the Sprint's thing. You know, Sprint kind of built their rep on how they were competing against the T-Mobiles and the AT&Ts and the Verizons by offering up an unlimited plan. So anything, in my opinion, anything that sort of weakens the perspective or weakens that branding is not going to be good for the carrier who's already having the hardest time keeping their customers and acquiring new customers. So I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that because this is something they've been fighting for a while. They've been trying to get customers onto capped data plans. They've been trying to walk away from unlimited, but then they come back to unlimited, and then the iPhone gets unlimited, and then now they've got all these legacy customers on unlimited, but they don't want them on unlimited plans. And does this, I don't understand the benefits to talking about throttling could possibly outweigh the negative perceptions in the marketplace right now.
I don't get it either. It looks like it's one of those things where marketing and message are not aligning in the company. The message is, we are limited, we do this, this is why you should come to Split. And the marketing goes by and says, hey, look, we need to do this, especially marketing tied in with, business ventures and whatever their financials are that they need to do. And they just don't know how to bring both together.
So Warren, what do you think? Is Sprint? Because what is Sprint's thing gonna be? You know, T-Mobile is the uncarrier, AT&T is the most reliable, Verizon is the biggest and the fastest. What does Sprint bring to the table that actually helps them improve in this marketplace? Because they're flush with cash. I mean, they had that $20 billion option from that Japanese company. Why is it that we haven't seen them pull off anything consumer-facing that might give us more confidence in this company?
Simply because they just don't have any idea what it is. They don't know. They have a network that needs to be rebuilt. and they don't really have a message, and they need to find that message, but they need to first get a sustainable network that has quality calling and data on it as well too, reliability that's much better, and then at some point they need to figure out what their voice is, which I don't think I think they have too many other things to fix first before that. And they're not the only carrier doing this nonsense as well too, because Verizon's also upping $20 to unlimited users as well too, trying to push them off unlimited plans. So it's just this whole thing of just I think these companies are trying to just throttle people and contain people into something that they can possibly get some type of overcharges out of, and try to make more money. In the end of the day, it's all about truthfully just making more money, and this is what Sprint's doing, even with their capping, is trying to curtail things down and make more money, and their network isn't that great either. So hey, they might need something, and they need to do that to free up some of that congestion.
Now, especially with your background, Warren, one of the things that I always thought was very interesting is Sprint sort of built up their subscriber base, but also got themselves into trouble when they acquired Nextel. And it's an area where I think since they've finally gotten rid of that old IDEN network, that they've actually done a pretty terrible job of trying to work out corporate agreements, business agreements. For most of the people I talk to, their work phone is usually AT&T. Second place has been Verizon in my neck of the woods. I know that's not going to be true across the country, but we haven't seen them applying pressure across all markets. We see these like dipping their toe into a consumer plan here, into a family plan there, and then backtracking or falling back to unlimited when it doesn't work.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, that's much better.
All right. Yeah. All right.
And I guess, I mean, if you heard the question too, because that's one of the things I was curious about, Enabong, if you want to weigh in on that too. But I really wanted to hear from Warren about Sprint offerings for corporate use, if that's maybe an opportunity for them to build up a subscriber base without always having to appeal to customers directly.
I mean, it should be, because of course you're the fourth largest carrier now. You used to be number 3, now you're number 4, and you want to be aggressive in every way. And Sam had this point yesterday. I can't remember what we were talking about, but he said if you're the small guy, you don't go there and start trying to make all these limitations. You want to go there and be everybody's friend. You want to be the one that everybody comes up and is like, hey man, Sprint's doing all these cool things, maybe I should switch. Maybe, the same way T-Mobile did all those little cool things, the same way T-Mobile made on-carrier a thing, even though nowadays the on-carrier announcements are not that big, but they still make it big in some form or fashion, that you pay attention to. And being number 4 and trying to throttle your unlimited customers doesn't I overheard Warren while switching mics, but it doesn't help you at all, because then you're sending mixed messages, and if people are hearing that now you're throttling unlimited data, and they're like, well, what's the point? I mean, I might as well just stay at T-Mobile or stay at AT&T or wherever I am.
Right.
Sam, you want to chime in?
I know. I think you expressed my point of view pretty well. I don't think I was as elegant when I said that. There were a few B words and A words and stuff in there, but you did a great job. You did an amazing.
Are you not allowed to say ass?
No, it wasn't ass. It wasn't ass.
Oh,
it was something else.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, we're really like PG this week.
Oh no, I would put it this way: if you're not the first, second, or third girlfriend, chances are you want to do everything your boyfriend wants. The first girlfriend. So yeah, give everybody as much as possible. Be as nice as possible. Make people think that you have no barriers whatsoever, and people will flock to you because people don't want to be encumbered by the amount of data they can use at any point in time. But people just don't learn. These companies don't learn, and they need to understand that giving the consumer something that would benefit the consumer and not just the bottom line of your company is actually something that might be good at the end of the day. It might actually bring you more customers. Wow, novel idea, But that's life.
And before we move on, we got a great question from Dominic. I was actually just gonna wrap this up with this question. So Dominic asks, longtime listener, great show. I love that people do that, because it used to be a big thing in radio. Like, longtime listener, first time caller.
Yeah.
Do you think Google should buy them and maybe combine it with Google Fi and somehow expand on Google Fiber to improve the quality of the network?
No. just because it will be an expenditure. It's going to be a huge expenditure that Google will not want to take. If Google were to buy anything, I say one of these smaller carriers from either like AT&T or Verizon, one of those smaller brands that they have. That's something, because that also gives them more partnership again with those brands like AT&T or Verizon, rather than spending money on a Sprint, they still have debt. SoftBank is still not sure what they want to do with them. And you don't want to go.
SoftBank has been trying to sell them. No one wants to buy them.
Yeah, because
no
exactly.
One does.
So you don't want to jump into that boat.
Yeah.
I mean, buy something smaller that you can control. Sure.
Because in my opinion, I don't think Google should own any telecom. I think it makes partnerships more difficult. I don't think they want to deal with regulatory hassles. The company, the telecom, can handle dealing with the FCC and dealing with customer complaints and improving the quality of their network, and they just want to lease time on a network. I don't think Google's really looking to expand on their direct-to-consumer options outside of Google Fiber.
I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think
sorry,
what Google... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what was that, Warren?
Google might not want to do that, but Alphabet might want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it makes partnerships more difficult for Google, even if it is an alphabet company. That like if you're trying to bring, so like look at Project Fi. Project Fi is Sprint and T-Mobile. If you're trying to get an AT&T on board so that you can proper compete against Verizon, I don't know that AT&T is going to want to sell off one of their smaller subsidiary companies. And if Google buys out like Boost, wasn't it Boost on Sprint?
Sounds right. Yeah.
So if Google buys out Boost, they still have to lease time on Sprint's network because Boost is an MVNO.
Yeah.
And I think it would be even less likely that you would get AT&T on board, because AT&T will turn around and say, well, we'll just fight you with Cricket, So I just kind of feel like from a strategy standpoint, it makes more sense for Google just to buy time right now, anyway, to buy time on other carriers' networks. And then when we have a farther reaching MVNO network, that you can lease time on anyone's network, then it doesn't matter who Google owns.
Well, if you look at Google's strategy, I think owning an ISP falls very much within their strategy, especially when you look at what Fi is trying to do. Right now, they have to make all these arrangements with other carriers. They have to make arrangements with T-Mobile in the United States. And I think they're making arrangements with, what are the guys in Europe? I think it's not Cricket, but Orange in Europe, right?
Yeah, Orange is in Europe, yeah.
But now, if they had an ISP, they would be able to give you the services you want and also force other ISPs to try to match that. Kind of like what T-Mobile has been doing, trying to force the other ISPs to do away with things like your early termination fee, do away with things like contracts. So if Google can push that, I can see it as a short-term gain for them, where they buy a company, hold on to it for 5 years max, and then spin it off and sell it off to someone else to be run by someone else. But changing the market in a way that benefits Google. I don't think they can get there by renting time from all these other carriers. I think it's definitely plays better for them if they go ahead and just.
I agree in terms of the long term, but in the short term, right now, you can't get customers on Project Fi if you don't have carrier agreements.
Yeah.
So I think what we're talking about with Google eventually owning their own air is probably a midterm or long-term solution. Probably not something we'll see in the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh no, definitely not.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. This is, I will call it, this is a uselessness redemption, because this was a uselessness that Warren went through.
Redemption of the week.
Warren stated.
We're not going to have a redemption of the week, because people don't.
No. There's no redemption in the week. This was a uselessness, and now they're correcting it. So we put it that way. Microsoft is changing Windows 10 free upgrade rules. So before now, if you wanted to do a fresh install of Windows 10, even though you had Windows 8, say like files were corrupted, and you're like, forget this. Instead of me just upgrading, I would just do a fresh install. You couldn't do that install because you needed a Windows 10 key, which means you just had to go and buy Windows 10 anyway. You can do that upgrade there. Now, Microsoft has now said that, yes, you can use your existing keys, which is what they should have done from the get-go, of Windows 7, Windows 8, and 8.1 to upgrade to Windows 10. So once you do that install, you can just use the key, and you're done. So, Warren, feelings and thoughts.
about damn time. Like some of the most, I don't get who read, the little green light sheet is we're gonna do these things and said, oh no, people don't need keys. We're just gonna let them upgrade. What? What? You would think they'd have tied the damn thing to the Microsoft account. At least that would have made some damn sense. Like their upgrade path made 0 sense, and I think now they're seeing that, yeah, we probably should have been looking at allowing people to do clean installs, which is the majority of the tech community.
Or at least the majority of the recommendations, whenever you have that person who's like, well, is it going to run well? You should probably do a fresh install.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they just realized they were a little bit out of touch with the tech community with that one. And though they still have some other issues, especially going around how they do Windows updates, that's another thing they need to really seriously correct. And but it's a good path in the right direction. I think that will get more users to upgrade, especially people that are PC builders, to willing to upgrade, because now they can do a clean install, have their key, and not worry about it. And if they need to format, they don't have to install the previous operating system just to get to the next one. If they want to go and move to new hardware, they can do that now without having to worry about not having a key. So I think overall it's a good thing that Microsoft did. Little late, 3 months later, to finally implement this and learn their lesson. This is something they should kind of have known already if they're really paying attention to who their audience is, which gets me a little worried a little bit that they're maybe not paying attention too much. So, good thing. Let's just hope the next thing they do is they fix the stupid automatic updates thing. Just one of the stupidest things.
Anyone else? I have a little story about this whole process.
Well, share your story, and then we can comment on your story too.
Yeah. I found out by chance before this announcement even came into place, because so Daniel came over, he brought his PC, he had some issues with it, so we reinstalled Windows 8, because that's the original copy that was on there before we updated Windows 10. So installed Windows 8, updated to 8.1, and just wanted to activate, actually 8, we just wanted to activate Windows 8, hit activate on the thing. It said it wouldn't activate, so I had to call Microsoft's activation line. Remember that line that you would call and they give you this whatever million numbers?
Yeah.
That didn't work. So I spoke to someone, and they said, "Oh, sir, you're using the wrong key." I'm like, "What do you mean the wrong key? This is an upgrade key, not an installation key." I was like, "God damn it, this is the key that I bought with this exact copy of Windows." They're like, "No, this is an upgrade key." I'm like, "To what?" "To whatever upgrade you want." I'm like,
that makes no sense.
Okay. Yeah, I was like,
that makes
what upgrade
no
is?
sense.
She's like, "What upgrade?" She said, "To whatever upgrade." I'm like, "So this upgrades me to Windows 10. So you guys have changed all your keys now to upgrade keys." She's like, "I don't know." And I was on the phone with Microsoft for about 2 hours, passed through how many different channels. I finally landed on the line where the lady was like, "Yeah, I can get you a I was like, "All right, can you just get me a Windows 10 key? Because you can see I have a receipt for I paid for Windows 8. They're like, "Sure, I can get you a Windows 10 key, but it's not a key. We'll have to send you a disk." I'm like, "All right, whatever. I'm just tired. I just send it over." She said it will be $50. I'm like, "Why the hell do I have to pay for a disk now?"
Yeah, for your free $50 for your free upgrade.
Shit.
If eventually I found someone who did a remote connect and updated the system, activated the system for me, but it was a little hassle. Just a little.
Well, and I mean, like, especially with Microsoft trying to position Windows as more of a service, like, it's those types of customer
Experiences.
hassles that need to be ironed out. You can't count on Windows 10 as a service if people have a hard time even just getting updates for it. So at least this is a huge step in the right direction. It doesn't sound like the coolest thing ever, but for those of us that have been building our own systems and trying to do upgrades and installs and stuff like that, it's a very welcome change in their policy.
Boneheaded for them to not do it in the first place.
Well, they still
I really don't understand why that was the focus. I mean, I understand for like preview builds and stuff like that, you treat it as an update or an upgrade only. But once it's consumer facing, once it's a vetted in the marketplace thing for people to consume and buy, it made no sense that was their policy.
Whoever thought about that, they need to think about why they're at Microsoft.
Well, hopefully that person is not at Microsoft anymore.
No, I don't think Microsoft was thinking about the basically their serial key management when they first.
I don't think about that much at all.
Yeah, no, because even right now, if you go on there and you purchase, I have 2 keys for Windows 10 simply because I just wanted to make sure that nothing went wrong when I was doing my clean installs. And one of them I can find. I bought both of them at the same time now. One of them I can find when I call Microsoft to activate it. The second one, I basically can't find it anywhere on my purchase list on Microsoft.com or MicrosoftStore.com. And when I call, they're like, we have no indication that you bought this. And then I talk to the lady and I give her, I give her the serial I got, or should I say the confirmation I got. She's like, that is the mobile app that you use. I'm like, what does it matter? Microsoft Store or Microsoft mobile app, what does it matter? And there's this disconnect between, upgrading from a Windows 7, Windows 8 to Windows 10 versus getting a new key and how they manage all these different keys out there. I just don't think someone actually sat down and thought about it.
Oh no, they haven't. If you ever had to do a Microsoft volume licensing, good God, good God, it's just they'd have to spend money on it to organize it, and I just think they haven't done it yet, and I don't think they're going to anytime soon.
All right, moving on to another big company. We talk Google in between. Now it's Apple. Apple lost a patent lawsuit. Yes, they lost to University of Wisconsin.
They lost because I think they weren't going up against Samsung. If it had been an Apple versus Samsung lawsuit, then it would have been an Apple win. But it's Apple versus an institution of higher education. So it wasn't a guarantee that Apple was going to win this.
So. Yeah. American company versus American company. That's what that was.
The case was filed in 2014, focused on the on Apple processors, A7, A8, and A8X processors in the iPhone 5S earliest model, and as well as the A7 was in the iPhone 5S. Sorry. So it looks like there's some infringements there. Damages are held at $862 million.
862. I thought it was 235. They were
initially. Sorry.
What was actually awarded on this part of the case was to
something, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at the A9 chip also.
Oh yeah, they are. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
I mean, Apple has just built a new wing in the University of Wisconsin.
What I think Apple should do is actually get a pretty good licensing agreement with these guys, because what they're actually talking about, the technology that's being infringed on, is something that Apple definitely wants to keep. It's basically predictability. It lets your processor be more efficient by predicting what you are going to want to access next. And that technology, I don't think is something you can carve out of the processor and say, oh, we're no longer going to have this technology. You can't really fix it without really impeding the way your operating system kind of, operates, or the way your look and feel, that smooth feel that you get with your iPhones. You really would not be able to do that without this kind of tech in there. So Apple have to figure out a way to stop hemorrhaging cash at these guys and just make a licensing agreement. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is something that Apple fights until the very end, though, because a licensing agreement means money over time, and I think Apple doesn't want to be in a position where they have to slice off any of their profit margin on the iPhone. So it's one of those things. I think eventually they'll get there, but they'll keep appealing, because even in terms of damages, that means that they have to admit that they used this technology. So they're not going to be likely to just roll over on that anytime soon.
Well, yeah, true, but they could always just have a they could always come to an agreement at the end of the day. So that doesn't include the damages, right? Where they can actually say, okay, you guys won this A8 or the A7s or whatnot, and then we can have this agreements going forward with the A9. But the thing is, now that they've already filed the suits for the A9, I think Apple really needs to stop and think. They've already lost almost $250 million already on the first lawsuit, which they are appealing. But even Apple itself is saying that these guys only deserve about $110 million, which is something that Intel gave them when Intel tried to settle with the University of Wisconsin. So these guys
but it's not up to the company. It's not up to the company using the technology to determine how much it's worth. It's up to the company who owns it.
Exactly. But I'm saying Apple is even admitting that they deserve some kind of cash. And
Yeah, exactly.
they've been compensated already. So Apple needs to sit down and say, hey, is our pride or our bottom line on the iPhone, which is pretty significant, they make a pretty decent gain on the iPhone. Can we take a little cut of that and ensure that we're not hemorrhaging $250 million for every single judgment against us? I would hope Apple says, yeah, we can afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, they have enough cash anyway. I mean,
not to be losing $250 million per decision.
I know, but I'm saying they still have enough cash. They have $135 billion in cash reserves, man. They have enough cash to hang for a while.
But for them, it's all about the future. Is how do they respond to future intellectual property disputes, and they don't want to be on the end of having to pay out per device. That's
true, but I mean, even in this case, from like I say, when you say to me, I look at it when you say they deserve this amount, means that you accept that you've done something wrong, and then also to the fact that your process, like Sam says, I mean, if you need it in your processor to do certain things that are tied to the way your system runs, you're going to lose out at some point, because even if you pay, that means you have to take it out eventually. I mean, that's how all rulings work. You pay for it, pay for all your damages, then you have to take it out moving forward.
And this is not just like, oh, we have to, if it's in the A9, it's all the phones that have the A9 going forward, So they need to make a licensing agreement ASAP, Or they need to come to a licensing agreement ASAP.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Moving on.
We had some questions here from the Q&A.
Sorry. Q&A questions. Thunder, your audio is jacked. Thank you very much, Joseph Hampton. Everyone is.
You see how I jumped in there and deftly sort of managed the conversation while he swapped his microphone? I'm pretty good at that, so.
Yeah, whatever, man. Dominic Cole says, think about how Google is now Alphabet. Maybe it could work without pissing people off, talking about acquiring a mobile provider. It could work midterm. I'm just joining, so I don't know if you guys have covered this, but can you guys explain why carriers have started capping data? What is so bad with giving customers unlimited? Monies.
Yeah, it's in offering up a service and then having people sort of exhaust bandwidth in a certain area. The argument is the more people that are using more data, the more robust your network needs to be, which costs a lot of money. So there's an incentive for these companies to try and whittle this back. I still think eventually we're going to kind of come back around to unlimited data. I think a company will have to make that a major selling point of their network, but it's going to be a long time coming.
Yeah, and Joseph Hampton Jr. says, I suggested that to Microsoft after I couldn't do a fresh install on my tablet a few weeks ago. I'm still waiting on my cut. We are too here, buddy. We are too. All right, LG basically announced and sort of stated they're making their own mobile payment system called LG GPay. Thoughts?
I'm a big fan of LG. I just, there are so many now. Payment options are the hot new thing. And it's still the frustration that we had years ago when Google Wallet couldn't get out ahead because of the conflict with their conflict with ISIS. So. Right? So, I mean, again, having another option in the market, great. I still think Samsung has the right track for today's market, in that they have a hardware-based solution for their payment that will allow you to use any credit card machine. It's not just NFC. And moving into the future, when we all have NFC payment options at our favorite stores, then it kind of doesn't matter. You're going to use whatever service is built into your phone, and it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Not much to say to it. Just another payment system out there.
Well, it's beginning to get to a point where you need to understand, what these technologies are. Is it going to be anything significantly different from what Apple or Google or Samsung is offering? And if it's not, then, well, it might be a case if it's compatible with one versus the other. It might be people being able to use mobile payments more than they currently do right now, so more people have access to it. basically contrast to what Samsung has done, which is basically tied to their most recent phones. But at the end of the day, the more people out there, or the more companies out there that actually have this option, I think is better for everyone. So, yeah.
Well,
All right.
I think it's one of those situations too where you're looking at companies try and create opportunities for lock-in.
Yeah.
So you pick up a Samsung phone and you get tied into Samsung Pay, you're way more likely to pick up another Samsung phone because you don't want to have to give your credit card information to a different company later on. And it would be one of those things that I would caution that maybe people really should examine, even though you have Samsung Pay built into your phone, looking at Android Pay and Google Wallet so that in the future you have an easy transition moving to another device. Like if you want to move from Samsung to LG or to Motorola or to Huawei, you're not tied in specifically to one manufacturer's system of payment.
Yeah, cool. I am going to sign out and say I'm back in because I lost my video. But before that, let's talk about Facebook's new video feed that might be coming out. So what do you guys think?
Well, your voice just went robot again. I don't know if you need to.
I'm gonna sign out and sign back in. Just continue.
All right. So, Facebook is testing a new feed just for video. I think this is interesting positioning because they've been trying to promote their video sharing and streaming services for a little while now, and I still don't necessarily see the benefit of uploading videos directly to Facebook as opposed to using a resource like YouTube or any other video sharing, or Vimeo if you're into high quality video streams. So now we'll be able to just sort of scan through videos in one feed as opposed to having them littered throughout our main wall feed, whatever we're going to call it. So I guess that's fine as long as, it does stay separate, because that would actually be cool for me, because then I wouldn't have to scan through people's videos. They would just be off in another little section of the Facebook app, and I could ignore them even better.
And they wouldn't freeze like 3 seconds and they're trying to play them, or 30 seconds after trying to play them because the player sucks. It does. It sucks.
It's bad.
It's very bad.
And the compression that they use is terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the one thing I do like about the video is that you can, at least when I see videos on Facebook, is when you're scrolling by, you can already see what's going on in the video without having to hit play and have the audio and everything going. I think that's a really cool feature. Because a lot of times I'm scrolling through someone's feed and I see that and I'm like, oh, isn't that funny? Nice, keep going. I don't need to stop and hit play and keep watching the whole video. So,
and what I think is hysterical is that action you just described. Facebook probably counts that as a view. Yeah. You saw the video. That's a view.
It was on his newsfeed. Oh well.
Yeah, I have no video, so it's fine. But
no worries, you got a face for radio.
Yes. No, but I do like the idea of them having a separate feed. But I do like watching videos on Facebook. That's why I watch all those different Instagram, Vine type clips. It's all on Facebook. Because I don't go to Vine, especially. I don't have Vine. I've stayed away from that. But I like watching the clips on there. So, just keep doing it. Just make a better video player and compression.
Well, I just, I feel YouTube needs competition. That's absolutely true. I think all of our products get better when there's a healthy competition in the market. But I still don't completely understand Facebook's end game here in video being kind of an add-on. We know that they're positioning their video service to include support for VR and 360-degree video. I'd be very surprised if they aren't already working on some type of live broadcast tool. But the reason why we all still kind of produce for YouTube above all else are things like ad and revenue sharing. And that's something that Facebook has been very reticent to extend to their users in the past.
I hear it's coming. That's all I could say.
I mean, we've been hearing about improvements, and like it's taking them this long just to include a dislike button. Like when it says something's coming from Facebook, we can never count on a timeline.
I thought it wasn't coming. I thought it was the new faces and all those other expressions. There's no dislike with that.
We don't even get a dislike button. They were saying we're testing the dislike button. We can't even get that. So
yeah, I don't think
talking about revenue share.
Whatever happened to the new timeline that they showed us 3 years ago?
I think they scrapped it.
Where's the timeline?
I think they scrapped it.
So,
I think the dislike button is not needed because think about it. If somebody, human beings are just evil. Somebody passes
Oh no,
away.
I didn't want to get. I mean, I
Yeah.
brought that up facetiously. I didn't think we need to hash out why the dislike button is.
No, I'm just saying that because you know very well, like somebody would post like, oh, a family member passed away, and then you just get like 5 dislikes. You're like, why? Because human beings are like that.
Somebody will be useless.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, I agree with you, Juan, in terms of bringing ad, because if they do bring ad revenue sharing and stuff like that, that would boost Facebook video and give us a different avenue for putting stuff out there.
Well, but it was also something that we discussed a long time ago, where Facebook and Instagram have become some of the most visible and best known resources for photo sharing on the internet.
Yeah.
And we know that Facebook uses photos for their own benefits in terms of how they do in system advertising.
Yeah.
And you don't get a cut of that. That's part of the user licensing agreement that you agree to when you sign up for Facebook.
No money's for you.
At some point, they could have made Facebook the world instantly with a flip of the switch. They could have made Facebook the world's largest photo payment system in the world. It's like a stock photography site or something like a Getty.
Oh, they already bought it. It's called Instagram.
Well, but that's just it. Is like in terms of proper licensing, and that's something that they could have extended to users. Like you click a little button and said, "Hey, would you like your photos to be used in advertisements?" And you can say yes, photos, but no photos with people's faces in them. And then you get a couple pennies every single time someone options one of your photos for an ad or when it's used.
You can spend it on a Facebook game.
But that would have been a brilliant way, because remember they tried all those like weird like, hey, buy your friend a gift for their birthday and you can buy it directly through Facebook. Well, what if you were accruing Facebook monies in Facebook to do that kind of stuff?
I like that.
Just like Google does with their opinion rewards app. You take surveys.
I love using that.
Yeah, totally.
I don't. That's the only way I can buy apps. Yeah, that's the only way I buy apps, man.
That's why I'm winning in Cookie Jam.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but with the stock photo option, I think the issue for Facebook was mostly not just the person. Who do you get to license out, or who do you give ownership of that content to? Is it the person that took the photo and posted it, or is it the person that actually is in that picture? So the question is,
it's do like any stock photography.
Yeah, your rules would be exactly the same. Is if you have a photo of, so like there would literally be a checkbox as you upload photos. Do you want to license photos that include people's faces? And if you click yes, then if there's ever a dispute, you would have to, the photographer would have to show that you have the rights to someone else's likeness. But if you don't check that box, then all of my pretty pictures of flowers and landscape photography would be fair game, because there's nothing in those photos that could be actionable.
You didn't get the flowers consent.
You didn't get the flowers consent. No, but I think Facebook is facing the issue where they've gone away from being just a social site that that people use to communicate within themselves. And their business model is beginning to be, let's see, almost like Google, right? Let's see what new technology we can use to basically gather information on people. Now, as Facebook, we all know what the business model for Facebook was in the first place, which is they sell our information to these advertisers so that basically they can make money and offer us these tools to share our information for free. But now they're going more into things like Oculus Rift. They've gone into Instagram, and they will continue to do things like this. And they've tried out the idea of having a phone. So their business is one where they need to collect as much information from their user base as possible. And video is another way for them to do it. What kind of video is this person watching? What is this person interested in? What kind of video is this person willing to put up and have associated with themselves? What kind of, all of those kind of matrices of stuff that they use to bolster their business. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they can continue to have this almost, Facebook is a social network where we all share whatever, not understanding with people, if they don't change the way it fundamentally operates, if they can't be more open in telling people exactly how their content is generating Facebook money. And this whole idea of bringing video into it, I think it's a perfect way for Facebook to actually go ahead and say, hey, we're going to make X amount of dollars off of putting your videos in advertising or whatever. And what you were saying, Juan, maybe this is the time where Facebook puts that checkbox in there and says, let's go for it.
Well, I think if you really want to draw, because right now what I'm really frustrated about in this sharing economy is a lot of these new services are built up on Cool, and it's up to the users to actually supply the experience and the content. You know, so like if you're a really popular Periscoper, I'm sure you can work out your own behind the scenes ad deals, right?
Yeah.
Like a company really wants you to do a featured or sponsored.
Okay.
You can do that if you've already got a subscriber base of you can show like thousands and thousands of people watch your Periscopes. But Periscope itself is very reticent to engage directly with their content producers to say, hey, you know, even if you're a smaller or medium-sized channel, we can offer these tools for ad share, ad revenue, because the service doesn't actually even monetize, you know? So it's cool, but you use it for free, but you don't actually benefit beyond making their service cooler. And that's kind of where Facebook video is for me right now. I can invest a lot of time and effort in uploading videos to Facebook to make Facebook better, but what benefit does that provide me other than just more Facebook likes? It doesn't really reward my hard work to upload videos to multiple places when I don't have a partnership or an agreement with Facebook that we share in making Facebook better.
Yeah, no, you are right. I think the only way Facebook right now can bolster things like this, or it can continue to collect this kind of information, is if they really open up those coffers and start, you know, having these content sharing agreements. You know, if they start having this revenue sharing agreement, I should say. That's probably the best way for them to go.
Yeah, they need to go and hire somebody from YouTube top, steal them away, and then just make it happen.
Man, your audio.
So what the robot is saying is that Facebook needs to go and hire someone from YouTube.
We're gonna have Sam be the robot interpreter for Anabog's audio.
Oh my God!
Oh, that got better.
I got better.
Okay.
But
It'll flake out again, you know it.
But another interesting thing when we talk about social media, just to add to it, is Twitter's downsizing and changing all their things around to be, I guess, try to grow again, because they've had a lot of stagnation in their growth. And there's a couple of big reasons I think that's happened. One was, I think, the way they really turned on the developer community, and another is just basically they're kind of a one-trick pony that didn't really have, I don't think, had much more than what it was. It was so simple and basic, but it was also its fault. I think sometimes it was so simple and basic that there wasn't a lot to kind of build and carry on. So your thought, I want to know people's thoughts on a few things. One, Twitter's changes and where you think they're going to go from here. What do you think they need to do? And is everybody realizing how Facebook used Instagram to kick Twitter's ass? Basically, like push them to the point where they're done.
Let me start. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, you're okay right
okay.
now.
No, Twitter isn't done. Twitter is now a mainstay in news.
Yeah, but they're done as far as growth.
No, they're not done as well. What they need to do is what we've said the last couple of months. You can't necessarily monetize Twitter, but you can monetize Periscope quick and fast. And you can start making money from there, because that's the only place, even till now, that people can instantly live stream and you're getting user-generated content.
But wouldn't that compete against Vine? Which they don't. I don't.
Yeah, but no. But Vine is only 6 seconds. This is live streaming Periscope. I mean, people Periscope anything from my bathroom to there's a war going on outside, right? You know, but you can have ads running on all those videos, user-generated content like that would give you a better revenue source. That will even get people like us go to Periscope, because for YouTubers, if we hear that Periscope is giving ad-generated content, then we're like, all right, fine, you know what? I might as well do some videos on Periscope, right? Because I'm going to be making some money off that. And that's a way that they can get, because you're always going to get content on Periscope just like YouTube on a daily basis. And having that revenue program there, I think, will help. Now, in terms of Twitter itself, downsizing is not a good thing in general, but I think it's needed because it seems like they've lost focus on what they're trying to do with with Twitter. They threw in things the last year about you could buy on Twitter directly. What else did they add? There's some other feature they added in there, which is kind of nice, but not what people use Twitter for in the first place. So they, on that aspect, I think they need to probably just go back to the basics and understand that they're a news source, they're a user-generated news source, and need to just keep it that way and look for other avenues outside Twitter to basically bolster what they do. And I think Periscope is the first place to start up with.
Okay. Let's go to
Sam.
Why me? Why me?
He said.
Not so. Well, they've gotten a new CEO. He's going to try to make Twitter. So basically, he's going to try to grow Twitter's business, but there's things that Twitter needs to do, and there are opportunities that Twitter missed out on that they might have again. Yes, Twitter is a big name when it comes to news, but what I always saw Twitter as was a very good chat room between customers and companies. I remember there was a time when you couldn't tweet a bad thing about a company without Twitter without the company replying back to you on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh no, it's still
companies will run there.
Really?
So they need to monetize that. They need to figure out a way to monetize that because that is what Twitter does very well. It cuts that middleman. It cuts all that customer service between a customer calling, waiting on the phone for like X amount of hours, and then getting to someone who's actually going to solve their issue at a given company. They need to do that. But right now, I think what they're focused on is this Project Lightning thing, which is supposedly a new revolutionary way to view your timeline. And I'm yet to see how that works out. I'm not the biggest Twitter user, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dorsey does because he might be able to change up that company and actually grow the business.
My fears are that Twitter is going to start trying to follow more of a Facebook model for the core service. And so when I'm getting more notifications about, hey, these are popular tweets in your circle of friends, and
I get that email every
don't you
day.
want to start where you left off again? I don't go to Twitter for cultivated content. Yeah. It bugs me when Facebook tries to tell me what I should be looking at from the people that I follow. I follow the people that I follow.
I never get those emails. I must have turned something off.
Well, but what I mean is, like, you go and you don't even get most recent, and now almost automatically always defaults to top posts.
Yeah.
I don't want any company telling me what content I should be looking at from the people I follow. I follow the people I follow because I like their content, and I don't want to go searching for stuff just because some people don't want to pay Facebook's extortion fees so that their content shows up in my feed. I make a point out of following the people I follow because of that. So that's really going to be disastrous for Twitter if that's the model that they follow. What I think is an interesting situation is Twitter is getting hammered not just from Instagram, but from all of the other social messaging apps out on the market. Like I was at a little influencer dinner, just a bunch of tech geeks eating seafood, and Snapchat was blowing up at our table. Everyone was paying with the new video filters and the new photo filters and the new emojis and all these, and it's crazy. I mean, like it was silly and it was goofy. It was a bunch of 30-year-olds at this table trying to act like we're teenagers, but no one was talking about Twitter. No one was trying out Periscope anymore. No one was doing video streaming or video broadcasting. It was now Snapchat. And that'll pass really quickly. That'll fat out really fast. But that becomes one of the situations where I think Twitter needs to find a way to leave their core service alone, bring developers back on board, because we all hate the stock Twitter app. It's terrible. It's proper terrible.
God awful.
It's the worst. But I also think that they could stand to learn a few lessons from Facebook in diversifying. Periscope was a step in the right direction. You don't interrupt Twitter's core service because news agencies and political outlets rely on that service, but you can populate other fun things around Twitter that tie directly into the Twitter service. And that's where I think they need to really look at like an Alphabet style reorg, where every time they have a new idea, it's spun off into a separate company. And that way they can keep fresh and exciting things happening without interrupting the experience for those of us who like the core messaging service that Twitter provides.
I feel, I agree with what everyone's kind of saying here with in regards to Twitter. I think their main thing is, truthfully, just need to onboard new people and get more user engagement. People sign up with Twitter doesn't mean necessarily they use it, and a lot of that comes from the fact that people used to use several different applications to access Twitter. Twitter was all about you can access Twitter the way you want to, and then they decided to institute that token thing and totally bone the hell out of that to the point where your favorite apps just basically died off and you stopped having access to it. So once you upgraded to a new phone, that app was no longer in the App Store, so there's no way for you to get your favorite Twitter application, so you had to use a stock Twitter app, which is god-awful. It's terrible. It's a POS. I'm not sure who developed it or what. They need to be fired and never develop an app again in their lives. It's god-awful. And it's been bad for like 3 years.
You have been banned from coding.
You need to be banned from coding if you develop that. And TweetDeck ain't no damn bad. I don't care if they bought that thing. That thing sucks too. And they pushed everyone out. Now they're talking about bringing developers back in. Newsflash, they won't come back. They will not. Once they've been burned, they will not come back. You're going to have to throw money at them to come back.
So here's the thing. It's the same issue that we've had with other companies in the past. I'll never say never. Because if the new CEO of Twitter flips the script and demonstrates a couple years of developer outreach, developer support, you'll eventually bring people back to the platform. But that's a long-term game.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. We'll get developers back on board Q1 2016. No one's going to take that bait.
No.
But if you can show me 3 solid years of developer outreach, support, accessibility, transparency, people will come back to that platform, and we can reinvigorate that developer base. But right now, the track that they're heading, I'm not like I have any fears that Twitter is going to become like a MySpace or something like that.
No.
But they're definitely crumbling under the weight of bots, of fake accounts, of people trying to game the Twitter service for social media points, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they really do need to focus on expanding and diversifying their services, but I don't think they can put that under the Twitter umbrella.
No, they certainly can.
From the Q&A here, Rod is saying, it's talking about the 140 characters that they need to, basically what he's saying is, what Twitter needs is to up the character key from 140 to 250, and that is definitely something that's on the table, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that'll happen. It'll be something that they should of do, and then find better ways to include rich media content within Twitter.
That I think is more of a benefit. You'll get some news, you'll get some PR out of increasing the character count. Like that'll make it to your local.
I want to see my Instagram pictures show up in my Twitter feed when I tweet them out. Screw you for not showing that in the timeline. That pissed so many people off. They don't realize how many people got pissed off of that.
Totally.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Nurod says, I think this pertains to developers. Steve Ballmer owns 4% of Twitter, just asking for some help. Developers.
Oh, man. No, the thing is, that could work. If you know Steve Jobs, if you know Ballmer's behind something, the developers will kind of like, well, we know we're going to get that Ballmer support, so oh, they kind of know. What I think Twitter needs to do is they need to jump behind a couple other apps besides TweetDeck. I really think they want to go to the Windows side. Good Lord, they need to find the guy that made Metro Twit and give him a ton of money and put him on a stage and say, hey, we support, however you want to access Twitter, and here's a great app for Windows that works awesome.
I mean, you guys are right though, because I remember when Twitter first started, you could tweet from your phone, like a standard mobile phone.
Text message.
Text message, and that's how people remember the Iran crisis. Not crisis.
Basically, talking about the Middle Eastern. What?
Wasn't there in Egypt?
Egypt,
yeah. People, I remember when,
Arab Spring, basically.
Arab Spring, yes. People were texting, tweets out and stuff like that. And I was like, man, this service is so versatile. I mean, especially you could use it from a basic phone, right? Yeah. And now that they've limited themselves, they seriously need to go back to the drawing board. I think we have it on the right path by saying Twitter itself needs to go back on the drawing board. Twitter needs to be needs to go back to the basics and say, what do we do well? How can we expand on that? And how can we move forward? And then look at also what do you call it again? Look at also other avenues are expanding, like Periscope and something else that they can do to say, hey, we're gonna make money maybe off these other avenues, because it's a much easier and pliable way to do that.
But I think Warren nailed it with rich media. Like I was going to say, that if you increase the character count, you'll get one news cycle. The local news anchors here in LA will say, "Oh, and it's a funny little thing. Now you can tweet longer messages."
Politicians can embarrass themselves in 250 characters or less now.
But then that news cycle goes away. It doesn't change the core aspect of what makes Twitter a compelling service. It's the immediacy, like what Anabong was saying. It's the versatility and the immediacy of being able to join a conversation that's happening in real time. So having an extra 100 characters doesn't change that aspect. But what's different than when Twitter got started was now the entire population of people with smartphones have much richer content creation tools built into their smartphones, and not having access to rich media. I mean, because that's what you really build up when you look at some of these social messaging apps, for a WhatsApp, for a Snapchat, for Periscope, is that we've built up much higher quality content creation tools for everybody out in the field. And not having good access to display all that. That's one of the reasons why I still turn to Instagram for most of my initial posts, is because with one send, I can hit Facebook, I can hit Twitter, I can check in on Foursquare still. Yeah. I mean, that's crap, but I can do it. You know, they didn't have any problems with those initial partnerships. I have a VK account just because I can populate it with content from Instagram.
Oh, that's true. Instagram became that one blast for all, which a lot of, I remember they used to make a lot of those apps that did that, but Instagram essentially became that because people like sharing photos in the moment and things like that, and they like to do it instantly, and they like to view that content wherever possible. So you know, if Twitter can learn to bring their timeline back to where I shoot out things from Instagram or Foursquare, and we get to see a preview of the image.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the good improvements that at least they've done is when you retweet stuff. You know, before, especially retweeting quote.
How long it took them to do this?
Yeah, I was like, why did it take you so long to just quote the caption message from the person? Then I can write my own tweet on top. I don't have to like force myself to recreate 140 characters, even though this person already has, and change the person's dialogue.
The funny thing is, retweeting is a user-created. The
user base forced them to examine that.
No, but the users created are RT. It wasn't even them. That when they actually made that change to do retweeting the way it's done now, that's the first time they actually added an official retweet feature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's true, because it wasn't on the app. Yeah, that's right. That's true.
There's some apps that cultivated that for you and cultivated it around a little bit and went around sort of what Twitter did, but then they decided to kill their app. So.
All right, let's move away from Twitter to some fun tech. BWone just showcased the lightest metal ever. I will post a link for you guys so you can check out the video. This thing weighs about, let's see, it's 99.99% air. That's what the metal is made of, basically. And it's so light, they actually showcased a picture of the metal placed on top of pollen. Like a pollen.
Oh, it's on a dandelion.
Sorry, yes, thank you. So it's pretty cool because we talk about like use case scenarios, especially using for BWone, using it in planes. So in certain aspects of the planes where you would use heavier metals, but because this is also just as dense as well as, it's just as strong, even though it's very light, you can use it in certain parts of the plane, so you can reduce weight, expand on on the amount of fuel you're going to be able to use on the trip, things like that. Just check out the video, but I don't know if you guys checked it out. What do you guys think?
No, especially talking about like drawing inspiration from organic structures, because this is a micro lattice, is what they're calling it. So it looks like I can't go into screen share because Hangouts has locked me out of screen share.
Let's see if I can, even though I have no video. Maybe they give me the power. Oh snap! I have the power.
Intersecting metal structures that, again, when you build a structure like this, like a honeycomb. A honeycomb is going to be stronger than the sum of its parts because of the shape of the structure that's being built.
Can you guys see that?
Nope, I'm still just seeing your icon. But so that's what's really providing the rescue. In that most of the structure is air.
Yeah.
So, our bones are hollow, birds' bones are hollow, but they're still incredibly strong because of the way that these structures work internally. And that could be a really interesting way to sort of move forward with a lot of products. Like if we could build out more parts of a car using structures like this and do it cost effectively, we would also see improvements to fuel mileage because we'd be saving on curb weight. So
Yeah.
stuff like that is pretty exciting.
Yes, it's really some cool stuff. And I like the explanation she gave in the video, as in your bone structure. And then I started thinking about, just bone. And I eat, I'm African, so we eat like chicken bones. And you start chewing into it, you realize it's, hollow in the center. And Juan just dropped out. Okay. Warren, you still there?
I'm still here.
Man, technical difficulties of the
Sam
wazoo.
has gone.
So Sam
well.
had to run. Sam had to run. Wow. What happened, man?
No, just kick me out. Unexpected error.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the final one, and this has to do with Playboy. Playboy is now officially PG-13 through and through. Last year, Playboy went PG-13 in the magazines. I'm sorry, online. And now they've moved PG-13 to the magazines. Basically, they said, I believe one of the reps in Playboy said, well, looking at nudes is a click away, so we want to just focus on some of the things we've always done well, which are the editorials. They still will have a Playmate of the Month type of thing, but, all the written content that, Playboy's had some really good interviews and also just good editorials in there. And they noticed that once they went PG-13, their user base, their traffic on the Playboy website went from 4 million monthly to 16.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So for them, they're like, well, you know what? I guess it kind of makes sense.
Made it SFW. That's essentially what they just made their website safe for work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also again, they are right too. If you want to look at fully nudes or porn, it's a click away on the web. It's not like you need to go to Playboy.com to do that. So for them, it's a good play, and it still keeps some of that Playboy mystique, because if you've ever read a Playboy magazine, I kid you not, they have some really good articles in there. So
and it sounds like they're trying to capitalize on the popularity of like a Maxim.
Yeah.
So they're still going to have a centerfold, but it's now just going to be, sort of a racy, but still,
Yeah, it's a bit like Maxim photo shoots, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would say editorial at Playboy is better than editorial at Maxim.
Oh, by far.
Yeah. So
Really?
I think drawing on their strengths, and actually just to talk up the numbers that you were talking about, it wasn't that they jumped from 4 to 16 million views. It's that they've been growing around 4 million views a month. And
okay.
Their biggest spike was a 16 million view jump in 1 month of traffic.
Wow.
So this move has definitely been
I'm looking at their website now. It's just completely different from one.
Oh yeah.
It's very. I mean, it looks like a complex. It looks like a, more of a modern sort of pop culture style magazine with just a Playboy name on it. So
I think this is a tremendous move, because I really think the team at Playboy could make a play for them to become the next Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that is
They
true.
can affect political discourse. They can affect social discourse. They can affect pop culture and entertainment discourse. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for them to completely rebrand what makes Playboy an interesting service.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm at the website now. Jesus,
it's kind of amazing.
this does not look like Playboy at all. I mean, it's good. It's just a company who's willing to make changes and move forward.
Yeah.
Because especially with magazines too, it's really hard.
I'm assuming if you subscribe to one of their better things, that's when you get to maybe.
I mean, like Playboy Plus that they have up there. Yeah, probably. But I mean, again, it just shows it's a level where
exactly what it is.
But
the only reason I was looking at that is like, well, this is Playboy, but there's still people that like the old Playboy too. They have an offer for those folks out there to keep their core audience around. And it looks like they do. So, I'm actually visit Playboy once in a while. This looks like a pretty cool site. Some cool articles.
I give them props, man. They really went and reinvented an old magazine, especially one that some people would call sexist or chauvinistic. Even though if you've ever read a Playboy magazine, it's really not the case. But it's that kind of thing where they've. I applaud them. I really wasn't expecting it to be that in depth, but hey. That's cool.
Well, Playboy was always like they were a little more on the, or I want to say artistic. I guess that maybe that's the word to use on the side. I think if this was Hustler, this is a whole different thing. If it's Hustler magazine, this is a whole different story. And once Hustler goes PG, we're in trouble. So,
Well, but I mean, like, I think
something's going wrong.
I think that's interesting though, Warren, because Playboy never built a reputation on pushing the same kinds of boundaries that Hustler did.
Yeah.
Because especially like if you've ever followed the story of Larry Flint, the way that we enforce First Amendment protections was heavily influenced by the smut that he was peddling.
Yeah.
Playboy never really rose to that kind of challenge, but they were very active in a very different style of political discourse throughout the 60s and the 70s that I think we could benefit from today. If we could bring on that kind of writing talent today, it could be a tremendous opportunity. I will be curious to see how other brands like Hustler manage this 21st century move where, again, the smut peddling isn't impressive or shocking or titillating anymore.
I mean,
what can you bring to actually get eyeballs on screens?
Well, when you have honestly a multi-million-dollar business that's, I think, backed by a few VCs and some hedge funds such as Pornhub going around pushing things and inventing products and stuff like that, and video sharing itself has gone that way, it's really hard to compete against that, especially when your product isn't even on that. Your product was never geared towards the video side of things. It's always been on images and photography and things of that nature. And now, like I said, it's just a click away to go to Pornhub or whatever porn website you want to go to get things instantly, similar to how we're a click away to getting the latest episode or whatever video we want to watch on YouTube or something like that. It's just kind of right there. That instancy of that kind of dwarfs out things that Playboy knows provided. So that shift and that change really does need to happen. Like, look what YouTube did towards news. News had to change itself because of how YouTube made it so instant and easy for anyone to put out news of any kind.
Yeah.
And if you watch news stations today, they had to change a lot of the stuff that they do now compared to what they used to be before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just influence like that.
We have a question here from Mike Bird. He says, "Hey guys, I was curious about how you all felt about all these random posts and videos and things that come out pretty much hating how the world is going the way of tech. So many people complain about how tech has advanced thoughts."
I think I did a video on this not too long ago and telling people to stop blaming technology for all their issues, because at the end of the day, technology has done nothing but actually bring more people together and have advanced our society a whole lot more. And well, there's a long argument for this, but at the end of the day, if people's attitudes are shit, the technology has really nothing to do with that. They're going to be that way before that, and they're going to be that way after it. So that's just my thoughts on it.
And I think what we see is this conversation always seems to spike up again whenever we hit these generational conflicts. When a certain section of the population is starting to wane in its power as another generation starts to climb up. Yeah. We see this with every single sort of major cultural shift in the United States. It doesn't matter. The technology is just a convenient excuse to talk about why the kids today are all screwed up. Because the kids were all screwed up when we went from the 40s to the 50s. The kids were all screwed up when we went from the 50s to the 60s. Kids were super screwed up when we went from the 70s to the 80s. We've always had this as a major component in our discussion on how we relate to different generations of people. To go to Warren's point, our advancements in tech create problems, but they solve far more problems than they create, in my opinion. So we can't backtrack. We can't put that genie back in the bottle. We'll need better tech to fix the problems that are caused by the tech today, but they've already revolutionized how we communicate with them.
I think some people that call things problems or problems that were already there to begin with, and they're using technology as the excuse. One of the biggest things when people complain about people on their smartphones all the time, and they're saying that disconnects people and things of that nature, and I said, you know what, I'm around a bunch of techies that we have several phones on us at all times. But somehow we all can get together, and when we're together, we have a great conversation that's engaging, and it's a good and great experience, and they're saying that people don't get that because everyone's just on their phones all the time. And I said, well, no, that doesn't have to do with the phones. It's just people just have an attitude, and if you have a shit personality, there's nothing technology is going to do to help or change that.
I think it boils down to, and I hate to say this as Juan is expecting, it's how you raise your child, and it goes a long way because it's how you were raised as a human being, right? Like Warren's point, just because we are techies and we have phones, we have all these gadgets, doesn't mean that when our friends come in, we can't just like connect with them, because technology. I mean, for instance, one of the greatest benefits is like I get to see Juan every week. He lives out in California, right?
Yep.
I moved away from Boston. I see Warren now because I can call him instantly. I can connect with my mom, back in Nigeria. Those are those benefits. But also, again, you could say, my time has been taken away now because I spend more time on Twitter and all these different things. And some people will complain, well, Facebook is too evasive. And I say, no. To me, honestly, there's no social media website that is too evasive. It's what you put there.
Oh. 100%.
That makes everything invasive. So if you don't know your limitations, if you don't learn as an individual that, look, there's certain you need to create boundaries. There's certain things that you shouldn't just post everything you think. You shouldn't just share everything you want to just because you feel like. I understand you want to share it, and that's not an issue. But understand where you're sharing it to. Are you sharing it to that one friend or that coworker at work, talking to them, or are you sharing it on Facebook where 1,000 people will share it and then reshare it, and then it goes to Twitter, and you look like an idiot? It just all depends.
I think the people that always love to blame social media for things. The funny thing is social media wasn't around to be some other thing that distracted people. It doesn't really matter. It'd be TV that distracts people.
Yes.
TV was something else or whatever would go
No,
around.
seriously, I mean, like, think about it. For kids that were growing up when we were little, it was the boob tube. And then it became video games, and now it's smartphone. I mean, like, again, every single major generational shift has had the exact same gripes about the generation which is coming after it. I
think it's just pissed off. There's a lot of Gen Xers that aren't going to get a whole lot of time to be in charge of the world because there's a giant bunch of us millennials pushing them the hell out, and that's just and we're ticking over a lot faster than they expected. When you have people like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world that they're our generation. He's from our generation. He's a millennial like the rest of us, and we're going around, and he has a controllable piece of society. It's scarce.
Well, and those lines get really blurry, but I feel it's the baby boomers are staying in the top positions of power way longer.
Oh yeah, way longer than they expected.
Why?
Why? So you're right. It's
because of tech.
Gen Xers that are feeling the squeeze.
Gen X is kind of useless too, but anyways.
From both sides of the generational divide.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is true. I mean, yeah. Well, thanks for that question, though, Mike Bird.
We could have a whole episode on that, man.
Yeah, we
I mean, it's an interesting sort of sociological shift, and it's coming at a time when I think we're the first generation of people who sort of understand a world of technological progress as being a world of constant change. And we're very rapidly approaching computing systems and information delivery that is going to tie directly into our natural senses. Like I've been talking about what comes after the smartphone. And I think we'll be sort of the last generation that might struggle with that adoption as people younger than us.
I'm afraid of embeddeds. I honestly am.
I think because we don't have to spend too much time on this, but embeddeds are going to take us a little while to get there because of the health issues, getting things past what's the medical regulatory agency,
FDA?
the FDA,
yeah.
Stuff like that. But I mean, for things like the failure that was Google Glass doesn't mean that we won't have eyeglass or contact
lens.
Oh
yeah, of course.
In the next couple of years. And I know for people older than me, that's going to be another transition which is going to be difficult to grasp. And I think for us, we're going to be on board. I hate the idea of contact lenses. I've never worn glasses, and I am ready to poke at my eyeball to get smart contact lenses put in my eyes, right? So, we're going to be that last transitional generation
yes.
that can remember a time before we had all of these amazing technological tools at our disposal and ubiquitous data.
You have to think about how interesting that is because the millennial generation is pretty freaking big, and even within our generation, there's a small little divide of us that does remember that, and a lot of us that don't.
No, but and it's so true, because when I tell people, I said, okay, when I went to school back in Nigeria, I went to a typewriting class. I had to bring my portable typewriter to school, change the ribbon, and then my mom had an IBM typewriter at home. My first computer was, I didn't own a computer, sorry. The first computer I used was in school with a 5.5-inch floppy. And then I used my mom's friend's computer, which had, a regular floppy disk. And then when I started learning how to use computers properly, I learned Fortran, which I can't remember now, thank God, because
I started with basic. I didn't
I learned Fortran first. I don't know why. It should be basic at least.
Tried to teach me a little Pascal, but I jumped directly to C after learning a little basic.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So it's that kind of thing, and it's funny you mentioned that, Warren. If I tell that to my cousins,
they're only a few years younger than you at that too. Like the interesting thing is, like when we go on these trips, when I bring my cousin with me, Chewy, to a lot of these events, and he's only a few years younger than us, but like there's a lot of times where we'll say certain things that he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
But he's still very much in the same know as we are on a lot of things. It's just very interesting. For my own computing, I have a different way I kind of got into computers. So I used to go to work with my mom a whole lot, so she would actually make me do a lot of data entry stuff for her. So I learned I learned, like, literally that's how I learned stuff. It was just it was like 6 or 7 years old, just entering in purchasing orders into like very old basic DOS systems and stuff. And I learned typewriter. Typewriters were still there, but she was in at a time when computers were getting more common in the office. And back then it wasn't IT, so she was actually the IT for. She worked as an admin assistant, but admin assistant at the time, during this time, were the IT, because they had to learn how to do it for their boss. So I learned a lot of it doing those things, putting in invoices and codes and things of that nature. That's kind of how I got into computers in my own little way.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Quick one here from Joseph Hampton. He says, in South Carolina, 9th and 10th grade, I had to take typewriting class, but in elementary we had basic programming. All right, cool. So
that's
Joseph is our age. We know it.
No. Because the point he's trying to make, though, is how funny it is that education doesn't seem to get upgraded across the board. Yeah. So like when he was younger, he was taking programming classes, and then he made it to high school, and the high school hadn't caught up. The high school was
it's very true. Same thing with me. It's correct, definitely. But we know your age.
Experience, yeah.
Know your age. All right, guys. What can we expect from the crew next week? Starting off with you, Mr. Warren Bowman.
I would normally just say stuff, but I actually don't even know, because I actually have a lot of things I gotta record. I've been very busy with work the last couple of weeks, so it's I just posted up a video now. It's up now on the channel. It's a Nexus 6 review remastered. So I went back to look at the Nexus 6 to see if it's still a good buy. So take a look at that. It's before it got the Android 6.0 update. It hasn't been pushed out to it yet. I think that's still sort of trickling out yet, and I don't feel like trying to force it, because I just don't feel like.
Yeah, I feel you.
I stopped hacking Android way back in the 2.3 days, so I just want the phone to work. But that's up, and then I'll probably have. There's a myriad of different little accessories and a tablet I have to review. I just got to get to recording it and putting it all together. So there is stuff coming. I actually don't even know what the stuff is.
Cool. How about you, Juan?
So my baby girl is coming next week.
Congratulations, bro.
Via daddy.
Unboxing.
Whoa! Oh my God!
I'll ask kindly that we don't focus our commentary on the box that my daughter is in right now, because.
No.
See, Warren's like, oh, wait a minute. What did I just say?
I'm Maybe that's one of the most inappropriate things I've ever said on this show. And punch me in the stomach when she hears it. But over the next week, commentary is going to be a little slower on my channel. I have the script and the video shot for my LG V10 review that will be out on Monday. And then I have a couple little samples. It's not going to be a crazy long video, but the Cinema HD mode on the LG V10 was actually kind of a surprise, because I thought it was going to be 1920 by 900, you know, when they letterbox crop HD video. And it turns out it's a proper 2K video. It's a 2560 by 1080, which you can shoot at 60 frames per second. Oh, wow. So I did shoot a couple little clips in Cinema HD. I didn't get to include that in my proper camera review because I thought it would just be an HD crop. But I was very surprised to see LG include that mode. So I am going to put out just a little sampler of videos from that. And then I also have a review on a Lenovo laptop coming out too, but I'm not sure if that'll be out next week.
Cool. I know you guys cannot see me, but I'm going to put the image on Juan. Bam! For me next week, well, I have to fix all these computer issues that I am getting. But I will have an unboxing and setup of the Steam Link and the Steam controller.
I'm really wanting to check out that Steam controller review, by the way.
Yeah, so that will be up, and then the review will be up next week, and then also the PC build. I just needed to change my cooling because somehow the temperature went to 80 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so I'm changing that, and I'll do I'll do the benchmark tests and all that stuff for you guys and put out a video. And then sometime next week, Board Prime is getting another upgrade. So I'll showcase that. It's nothing too crazy, but I just wanted to do a few things on there. And then I might be doing some 1 month reviews of the iPhone 6s. I believe it's a month now, and I don't think I did a month on the Galaxy Note 5, so I'll make a 2 month video on that. Which secret, I still love it.
You guys know I killed mine. I can't do comparisons on the Note 5 with the V10 because I found that the one perfect side drop to completely liquefy the internals on my Note 5. So I do have an S6 Edge around that I will be doing some comparisons with. But okay. I'll be curious to see how you've been feeling, because I wasn't picking up the Note as often as I did the Note 4, and my Note 4 just got the update to 5.1.1. So I'm kind of fallen back in love with my Note 4 again.
See, for me, quickly with the Note 5 though, I mean, it's been absolutely butter, just in terms of use, and I've actually found myself using the S Pen more because it actually, for me, since my handwriting is terrible, it's actually, I feel like they've done a better job in recognizing. So each time I've gone to meetings, I've been taking out notes there and just writing, stuff down with it. So. And again, there's also Samsung Pay, which I use constantly. So
yeah, actually, that has been a pretty big benefit. I got it hooked up on my Edge Plus too.
Plus, yeah. So for me, it's those things have made it, and the camera is very good. I mean, I'm sure the V10 is probably better because of its manual settings. But I mean, the Note 5 camera really spot on. Just double tapping the home button and taking the photo is just so sweet. Such an easy thing to do. So yeah.
Double button swag.
So yeah, that's pretty much it on my end. So anyway, guys, definitely check out everyone's channel. You can subscribe to Mr. Juan Bagnell, who you're seeing right there. That's not me, that is him. Yes, Somegadgetguy.com. You can also follow him on YouTube. It is Juan Bagnell, or you can search Somegadgetguy. You will find his channel, and make sure you watch his videos. Check out his camera reviews. They are the best on the planet. I just make short ones. He makes extensive, serious stuff.
The V10 ended up being a 15-minute video looking at every single shooting scenario you could possibly
get on it. Yeah, that's nice. And then Mr. Warren Bowman from BWone.com, and that is a website. You can check him out on YouTube. It's also BWone.com. He's got lots of stuff for you in terms of content. So definitely check out his content, watch his stuff, and also check us out at Booredatwork. It's Booredatwork on YouTube. It's Booredatwork.com. Sorry, it's dark. I might as well switch to somebody else's face, and and just follow us there. And if you have any questions or comments, let all of us know. If there's anything you want us to cover in the future, if we can, let us know. We'll see if we can cover that for you. So this is Thunder E saying thank you, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.